you may find, and I found it when I got in my 30s, I started digesting dairy a lot worse. So now I've cut dairy out. It was actually affecting my breathing, and I didn't know it. I'd get done with a workout, I'd be on the ground flopping around like bacon trying to catch my breath. I did an elimination diet where I cut dairy out. All of a sudden my breathing was restored. So I haven't gone back. I eat a very little bit of dairy. I did have a glass of milk last night, but it's few and far between. So any of the inflammatory foods, which we'll get to at the very end, if you're having any sort of ailment that you're not quite sure where it's stemming from, maybe try an elimination diet, slowly add the foods back in. Elimination diet is 3 to 4 weeks of eating clean paleo. Then you slowly start introducing back the stuff that's questionable. Eventually you'll find the one thing that's been causing your issues. Assuming your issue went away during the elimination. Let's see. Any other questions on gut microbiome or probiotics?
No, that's about it. Yeah. What about aloe vera water? I've heard that's kind of a new thing. Also somewhat contributes to not gut flora, but it can help offset some of those conditions.
Yeah, I'd like to do some searching on
that.
Is
that alkaline water?
No, aloe vera water.
Aloe vera. Oh, aloe vera.
I think it's more for hydration, similar to coconut water.
Well, yeah, coconut water is more for hydration as well, but
yeah, I don't know. I've drank it.
Yeah.
Impulse buy, but I don't know too much of the benefits from it.
But one last thing on gut bacteria also, if you're eating a proper diet with lots of vegetables and fruits, especially vegetables, you're going to be getting the proper amount of substrate. They need, we're talking about fiber. That's one of the beneficial things about insoluble fiber that it does for our diet is it gives your gut flora something to kind of attach to. So, and if we're doing strict paleo, we're not eating any beans. And beans are one of the best sources of fiber that there is. So you just got to make sure that you're getting enough, leafy green vegetables, kales and collard greens and those types of things. That's going to supply an adequate amount of fiber. But if you're having issues still and you're taking a good probiotic and you're still not feeling like you're getting the best results, it might be okay to add some other type of a fiber supplement as well and see what that does. And that's one of the themes of this whole thing too, is there's no one right answer for anybody. You've got to tinker with yourself and be scientific about it. Don't confound it with doing a whole bunch of changes all at once. Or if you do a whole bunch of changes and then try one of those things back, like Bill was talking about. That's how he discovered the dairy issue. Right. You can't add 3 things back at once because if the symptom returns, you won't know what it was. So you've got to be scientific about it. You've got to tinker with it. You've got to give stuff time. 2 or 3 days of a certain eating pattern is not going to make a determination. So experiment with the foods. Experiment with the different types of macronutrient breakdowns. Experiment with the bacteria. All that type of stuff is something that you encourage and do research on your own as well.
So trace minerals and anti-nutrients. Trace minerals, micronutrients. They're destroyed by travel time, light, heat. Okay? So think about the produce we get now. Where does it come from? Could be Mexico. Could, we don't know. We do know, we read the package, but it goes very far nowadays. Spinach, at 68 degrees, 70 degrees, lost 47% of its folate after 3 days. At 39 degrees, 53% after about a week. So if you add that with the conventional farming methods that a lot of our food is produced with, which already has depleted soil, what you're paying money for in the grocery store, you're buying a shell of what it should be. As well as anti-nutrients. So we know, like paleo, we don't eat peanuts. Okay? Peanuts have phytic acid, which blocks absorption of certain minerals. Things like soy, for instance, have other effects. Wheat, beans, soy, peanuts all have anti-nutrients. They also block absorption of micronutrients when you eat it. So you're taking spinach that doesn't have much folate anyways, then you eat it with some peanuts or something. And I'm not sure peanuts block folate, but you're getting the gist. You know, maybe
you're eliminating the
right,
absorption.
even more.
Yeah.
So I'm reading this book here. I'm a little bit. I just started it, about maybe a third of the way through. Micronutrient Miracle. Okay, it told me that paleo had the least amount of deficiencies of any diet that they studied. Paleo can cause deficiencies in B7, calcium, and chromium. So if we eat paleo, we want to make sure that we're getting vegetables that give us B7, calcium, and chromium, or we want to supplement.
Broccoli is loaded with calcium.
Okay.
So if you just throw broccoli in there, throw it in a few salads during the week,
Almonds have great calcium in them.
there you go. So it'd be hard to be calcium deficient if
If you're eating the right
you're
vegetables.
doing veggies, right?
But it's
You
something.
don't have to have milk to get calcium.
It's something to think about. So three things, and then standard American diet. Okay. A, D, E, K, calcium, iodine, magnesium, zinc, omega-3. Okay. So we got to take the standard American diet. Then let's add stress on top of it. This is what stress depletes. A, B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, B9, B12, choline, C, D, E, calcium, chromium, copper, iodine, iron, magnesium, potassium, selenium, zinc, omega-3, and carnitine.
So
Basically. So if you take the standard American diet, combine it with stress, combine it with the gut issues, no wonder why we all have chronic diseases. Ibuprofen, B9, C, iron, zinc. So I don't know how many of us in here, I don't, are on the ibuprofen trying to keep the aches and stuff away. Terrible idea. Unless you need it for comfort because you're in extreme pain, don't take non-steroid anti-inflammatory, forget the last part. Because yes, it reduces the inflammation, but that's your body's response to fixing the issue. So studies have shown you're actually prolonging your recovery, as well as causing deficiencies. So that's going to lead us into the dangers of GMOs and glyphosate. So do you know what glyphosate is?
I don't.
You've probably used it.
Hopefully not. Roundup, weed killer, herbicide, pesticide. How it works. Binds to nutrients in the soil. So what did we just get done talking about? Micronutrients. Now we're going to blast Roundup all over our food. We're going to take poison and we're going to spray it all over our food. If you ever look at pictures of a conventional cornfield, it's the corn and that's it. No vegetation, nothing. Let's do this. Some of the things that it binds to: manganese, copper, potassium, iron, magnesium, calcium, and zinc. That soil is what the corn's growing in, or what the vegetables are growing in. Now the vegetables aren't getting those nutrients either, so they're becoming even more deficient. The Roundup actually makes it through some of the food. Peaches, one of the dirtiest foods to eat. If you're not eating organic, don't eat the peach. Just avoid it entirely. Because the skin's soft, the herbicide gets actually in the fruit. Side effects. Endocrine disruption of consuming Roundup. DNA damage. Although Monsanto will tell you you can drink it. Birth defects. Fun for mom. Neurological disorders. Who would have thought eating poison could do this? And finally, cancer. And this is the big one that's actually causing some waves lately.
Yeah.
Because now Europe, a lot of European countries are banning it. Who knows when we'll get there if we seem to be the...
Wants to do everything.
Right. I mean, there's tons of money. Monsanto's paying tons and tons of money. That's why they don't want GMO labeling. If you ever look at the type of money they're spending on that, your mind would just be blown.
I wouldn't be surprised.
There's also studies, now this is a little bit debatable, but I guess it depends on whose research you trust. Less nutritious than organic. Makes sense to me. You're creating infertile soil. As well as the last one, this is also a little bit debatable, but simply because we don't know. Unintended consequences of DNA splicing. So yeah, I can take two like plants, hybrid them, and create something naturally. But now they can take a preferred gene out of a pig and stick it in corn. Who knows what happens when our body breaks that down? Who knows what DNA damage that's causing us? No studies have been done. Nobody knows. I think you had some.
Yeah, I've got two things. One, the relationship of Roundup and GMO crops. Let's just say corn, for example. The reason what they've done is they've taken certain genes and put them into the corn that make the corn immune to the effects of Roundup. Roundup is a non-selective herbicide. Any plant you spray it on, it's going to die. They have inserted genes into that corn to make so the Roundup doesn't work on the corn. So now instead of spraying it, because weeds take away from the productivity of a cornfield. So if you've got a bunch of weeds growing in there, the corn doesn't produce as much. So you want to kind of get rid of weeds. And they used to go along and spray in between the rows just on the weeds. Well, that's kind of hard to do, and you end up damaging some of the corn and all that. So now they made the corn's resistant to it, so you can just spray the whole field. And it only kills the weeds, but it doesn't kill the corn. Well, now you've got this toxic crap all over your corn plants. And it gets absorbed into the corn, but it doesn't do anything to the corn. It's just sitting there for us to eat. So that's kind of that's what's happening with Roundup and that. There's another popular GMO food that's been infused with, there's a bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis. I'll say BT from now on because I can't say that other one very much. BT it's considered organic. You get a bottle of this liquid BT spray, you can spray it on your tomato plants. Big old caterpillar comes along because the caterpillar will destroy the foliage and the fruit on a tomato. Well, when they ingest some of the leaf that's got this BT on there, those bacteria start reproducing and give off a toxin inside of the caterpillar, and the caterpillar actually just explodes. So your tomatoes are caterpillar free. You pluck that tomato off there, take it inside, you just rinse it off under the sink real quick. All the BT spray's gone, you can eat the tomato, and it's absolutely healthy. Sounds pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
How cool would it be if we took that BT gene and we stuck it inside of the tomato plant so that we don't have to spray it on there anymore? Every cell in that tomato plant is producing that toxin, so when a caterpillar comes along, it bites the leaf and it swells up and it dies. Sounds great so far, except it's in every cell of the plant, not just on the outside. So you can't rinse it off. It's in there. And BT foods, certain crops are more prone to damage by caterpillars, like zucchini and yellow squash. Those are two of the most common GMO vegetables that we have. And they get a lot more yield out of their crops because of that. But when we eat some, nothing better than sauteing up some zucchini and squash with some onions, and it's delicious. But if it's GMO, you're most likely eating BT toxin with every single one of those things. And we have no idea what that does inside of our body. Because every cell in the seeds, in the meat, in the skin, every bit of that has that BT toxin being produced by every one of those cells.